welcome to the Wellness Hub podcast, a show dedicated to uncovering the future of healthy living. Each week, we aim to bring you content that supports your personal health journey through insightful conversations with amazing guests. We explore various topics ranging from healthy eating, technology, fitness, mindfulness, and more. Now let's join our host, Drew Munro, co-founder and CEO of UpMeals, a Vancouver-based food tech startup on a mission to make healthy meals accessible through technology.
Hello and welcome to the Wellness Hub. As always, we're thrilled to have you with us for yet another edition of Wellness Wednesday. Every single week, we're hosting amazing guests discussing important topics ranging from entrepreneurship and technology to health, wellness, fitness, and mindfulness. And as always, we hope you find these conversations valuable and insightful on your own wellness journeys. Our special guest tonight is a unique visitor to the Wellness Hub. What makes him unique, you ask? Well, his field of wellness focuses on your financial health. That's right. Tonight, we have a talented and dedicated financial advisor with nearly a decade of finance experience gracing us here tonight on the Wellness Hub. Tonight, we'll be giving you no-fluff, actionable insights on health and wellness for your finances. Our guest tonight has worked with countless entrepreneurs and businesses over his career, providing financial guidance to help them achieve their vision of success. We're so lucky to be graced with his wealth of knowledge and wisdom tonight, and we'll be sure to make the most of it as we dive deep to understand, what do most entrepreneurs or individuals get wrong? What do successful businesses have in common? And what are some of the toughest lessons that he's learned over the course of his own career? We're going to talk about his unique career journey, which actually started out in food, while dishing out actionable financial tips and knowledge for our listeners tonight. The world of finance has changed drastically over the past decade. How do you keep up and ensure that you're taking the right steps in your personal finance or your business finance? Listen right here to find out. Our guest tonight is a financial security advisor at Canada Life, one of the leading national providers of insurance and wealth management services in Canada. And as we discuss these important topics, a reminder to please comment with your questions on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, wherever you happen to be watching. We'll be answering audience questions all throughout the show tonight. So without further ado, please welcome our special guest this evening, Stephen Majetic. Stephen, welcome to the Wellness Hub.
Quite the intro here. So I hope I fill that intro nicely. But yeah, welcome. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for the invite, Drew.
My pleasure, Stephen. I have no doubt that you're going to live up to that. I want to go way back. You know where I'm going with this right off the bat. I want to go way back and talk. I want to talk about your life before finance. So this is when you were a butcher, working at a place that you and I both know, in Chilfie's meat market.
Yeah.
What did you learn from that experience, and then what caused you to pivot over to the world of finance?
Yeah. Wow. That was okay. So I was in that meat industry for about 8 years. So I was actually somewhere else before I went to Chilfie's there. And it was a great gig to, make me some money and help me pay my way through school. But one of the things I learned about that is this is probably not something I want to do forever. There's a lot of blades and knives and saws around here. And like, as clumsy as I am, that's probably not the best environment for me. But one of the things that taught me most is when I worked there at Chilfie's, the culture was, hard work. So I would say that was one of the most important lessons I learned that still carries with me today, is how to work hard and efficiently, and put in the hours. And I would also say one other thing is just kind of how to deal with different personality types. Because when I worked there, I was in wholesale. So sometimes you often have to deal with all these different restaurants, catering companies, hotels, et cetera, et cetera. And, I've never actually worked in a kitchen, but I've been into almost everyone in the city, because sometimes I'd have to go and drop things off. And you can kind of see the different personality types, especially amongst some of these executive chefs. Or restaurateurs or the owners of these restaurants. And you kind of learn how to adapt to a wide spectrum of personality types. And that was also a skill that I learned there that carried forward throughout the rest of my career, and probably will continue on throughout the rest of my life. Yeah.
Wow. And so obviously you learned that all executive chefs are the kindest, sweetest, most gentle people in the world, right? I'm assuming that's what you meant by that, right?
When you give them what they want, yes. That 1 second right thereafter, but leading up to that, they things can get sporty, I guess I would say.
You were very diplomatic with how you phrased that. I agree.
I mean, there's a few that are ingrained in my mind where I'm just like, I will never. Okay. I don't know if I want to eat there today, but or I get invited out to a dinner and it's like, where is it? And it's just like, okay.
I can never go back there. Yeah, no. I want to break the ice a little bit before we get into the nitty gritty here. So I hope you don't mind. We prepared a lightning round of sorts to get to know Stephen Majetic. The questions are going to start really easy, and they're going to get a little bit harder as we progress. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, we're going to go. Okay, here we go. Lightning round starts now. Okay, cats or dogs?
Ooh, dogs.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Cortado or latte?
Cortado. All day long.
Okay, oat milk or soy milk?
I really dislike both. Oat.
Oat milk. Active income or passive income?
Active.
Business formal or business casual?
Formal.
You're suited up. I love it. Walking the walk, talking the talk.
Yeah.
What is your favorite animal?
My favorite animal. I mean, there's some cool ones out in nature that I'd like to see, but if there's one that I had to spend a lot of time with, I would say, no, a lot of people tease me for this, and I've been asked this question actually 2 days ago, is a wiener dog.
That's your favorite? That's a great answer. That is a fantastic answer. Don't ever change, Stephen.
Yeah.
What is your dream dinner guest?
My dream dinner guest. What type of dinner?
Any kind that you want. Any kind that this is your world.
I would say, you know what? I'd probably go with like Charlie Unger or Warren Buffett, or the pair of them together. Just, they're getting older, and like the wealth of knowledge, no pun intended, that they would offer. If I took what they had given me and implemented it and it worked, I probably would be able to be in a position to have dinner with anyone I wanted. So I would say that.
And the last TV show that you watched?
It's called Hand of God. It's on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. Okay, gonna check it out. And now a last one, sort of a big question here. What is one life goal that you have yet to achieve?
Wow, Drew.
I told you they were starting easy and then getting slightly harder.
Definitely some extensive traveling. I spent a good chunk of my life so far building up what I've done career-wise, and it's to the sacrifice of other things. So it would be definitely some extensive traveling. Yeah.
I love it. Great answers. And sorry for springing that on you. I feel I just kind of we got to loosen up a little bit, right, to get into the actual. And now I feel like both myself and our listeners, they know more about you, which is the whole point. So thank you for playing along. Now I want to ask, you're somebody that in the course of your career, you've worked with so many different people, so many companies in varying capacity. What do you specifically look for in an individual before you decide to get involved with them in business or otherwise?
Right. Yeah. So I think that to answer that, my answer is very different today than it was, almost a decade ago. Back then, I left banking to go start my own practice. It was more or less anyone that could fog a mirror. Right. Now today it's a little bit different. And a lot of people in my industry filter people based on, how many assets they have or investable money or what have you. I don't. I like to filter people based on character. And, I want someone, very simply, I would say the best, I would only work with someone today is if they're as committed to achieving their financial goals and doing what it takes as I am committed to advising, educating, and helping them do so. And it makes it a perfect relationship going forward. And then, I hope that answer makes sense. But if they're as committed to achieving what they say they want to do as I am committed to helping them do so, then it works. And you can kind of identify that early on. And then those are the types of individuals that I find I work best with and achieve the most success in whatever they want to do.
And is that, let me ask you, because that's a fantastic answer. I love the way that you filtered that and made it character-based. And let me just ask you something straight up. Like, is that common in your line of work for people to have that same perspective?
Not as much as I'd like, but at the same time, I can't be everything to all people. So for that group of people that are committed to seeing success, it really boils down to two things when in the clientele that I serve. And this is pretty much in any industry, but I've really figured it out in mine, is that someone is coming to you and they're either looking to ease some pain or see some gain. It's a pain or a gain. And once you really get to know somebody and figure that out, then you find out how motivated they are to solve that pain or enhance what they're doing to see that gain. And when that person is motivated to do so, and they're willing to take the advice and their relationship is there, then it's just wonderful. Yeah.
And I want to ask you something. So you've been in the game now for almost 10 years and working in finance. What are some of the biggest changes that you have witnessed when it comes to business owners and entrepreneurs and small businesses looking to work in finance and getting what they need to succeed?
Okay, so the question is people in my industry, what has changed, or
in the world of finance and small businesses or entrepreneurs being able to access what they need to succeed. What changes have you seen from your world?
Well, as of very, very recently, there were some major changes just in terms of the industry. But prior to that, some of the biggest challenges I see is people come in and they went and did all the schooling and they know how to they know all the jargon and how to make the craziest pivot tables and how to use Excel like a magician and all these kind of things. And then they come out and they realize, yeah, hey, cool, yeah, all right, we all can do that. What else can you do? And I think the biggest challenge they have is yes, we sit here and do math every day and there's numbers and there's this and that and graphs and charts and all that. But at the end of the day, this is a very people business. So if you, much like a doctor, have terrible bedside manner, and we have our equivalent as well, sometimes you have to deliver some news that is some very harsh realities to people. And math is math, right? If you can't there's no making it up, right? So being able to be a genuine people person and be honest and be able to deliver news, good or bad, and being able to connect with people at the end of the day is one of the hardest things to do. And a lot of people struggle with realizing that from the very beginning, and think that numbers and charts and graphs and all that tells the whole story. To your average person, they really don't care. They really want to know, okay, what's the black and white? What's good? What's bad? How can you help me? What are you going to do? What do I need to do? And if you break it down very simply, that's what. And a lot of people coming new into this business really struggle with picking that up right away. And the ones that do identify it right away are the ones that will see success, because all those things that I mentioned, like the numbers and the graphs and the charts and all that changes every year. The software changes all the time. There's new rules that come out. The stock market changes every day. So I think that would be the biggest challenge, specifically for my end of the industry.
Got it. Yeah, and you said it best. I mean, there's people that can have all the technical skills in the world, but ultimately, business and relationships and finance, it's about people, right? There's a soft skill element, and I like that you make that connection to character and to those soft skills. It's really, really important. And perhaps, speaking of challenges and changes, perhaps no bigger in your career than the global pandemic in 2020, right? So just walk me through a little bit about what that was like in kind of your world as all of this was happening with all of your clients and your partners and everyone that you're involved in. Just walk me through what that was like.
Well, when you see the market drop about 35% in a day, there hasn't been an event like that. The last one was about 33 years before that, 1987. and the day was actually called Black Monday. So, Mondays are also this, what a case of the Mondays it was that day. And then 2, Black Monday, like, oh my God, what an ominous name. So, the next biggest event to mimic that was obviously in March 23rd, 2020. The day is singed in my brain for all of eternity, for good and bad reasons. But I remember that day is also my grandmother's birthday. So I'm dealing with 2 things at once, and I'm just looking at my phone and all the alarms are going off, and it's like, oh my goodness. That was definitely, for a lot of people it was emotional. Myself, I kind of took a step back and I looked at it and I kind of took a few breaths and I had to calm down. But, on the bad side, here in my practice, when it comes to the investment end of our business, our income is linked to our assets. The better those assets grow, obviously, so does my paycheck essentially. And then if those assets deplete, so does my paycheck. So that way we have skin in the game when talking to our clients. So, imagine within a day, your income was cut by more than a third. So that was enough to kind of spook you. But then when you actually take a step back and, if you've been doing this a while, we've studied things like 2008, 2009, that was a major time, and then it created a bit of a downtrodden market for 18 months, 20 to 24 months, and then it started the biggest bull run the market has ever seen, and things went gangbusters. So when you go back and you study these things and you're like, man, if I'd injected some cash at this day, or even during that 90-day period where it really kind of took its slump, look where it would have been today. And we use those all the time in explaining concepts and ideas to clients, teaching the younger people that are coming into the business. And when we, I pick a couple here and there each year, and, I kind of mentor some of these newer people, and we explain these things. So I was like, wait a minute, this is it. Like back then I was too young. Like, I wasn't even looking at, I didn't give this any care whatsoever, but now here I am in this world, and like, this is it, this is our chance. So what could we do now? Let's take a look at exactly what's causing this. And the difference between back then in 08, 09 and today is there was some actually underlying issues when it came to primarily United States, home lending, right? Loans and all these kind of things. There's not really many checks and balances. And eventually it just kind of, the house of cards came crashing down, where this one wasn't really caused by anything like that. The market had been at its strongest it has ever been. It was just a fear-based thing. It was just people being worried and scared, and that will dissipate eventually. So I'm like, we have to act very quickly. And, long story short, we kind of went out to a few banks and got into some discussions with them and created something as a mechanism for clients to inject large amount of cash, into the market at that time. And it actually, what some people think was like a bad story, actually really kind of bared some fruit and turned out to be a really, really cool thing. But it did rock us for a little period there. And to be honest, I didn't know what was going to happen. And if anyone said that they knew it was going to happen, I'm telling you 100% now, stone cold lie in your face. So what we did is we just kind of said, well, what do we know how to do? And we just went back and peeled off all the layers of all the stuff that we thought was cool at the time, and just got rid of it, just threw it out and said, that's not happening anymore. We're in a very different world. And we just went back down to our basic fundamentals. And it was actually kind of good, because it got us back into, okay, what is the fundamental practices of what we actually should be doing? And then we kind of just have honed our skills in on that, and it's actually changed my outlook moving forward. But it rocked us hard. It was scary for a couple days there, until you kind of pull your head out of the bucket and say like, hey, you know what, we got to take a breath of fresh air and kind of scan the horizon here and see what's going on, because there's people depending on us with their life savings. We can't sit here and be scared like, what's going on? Like, we got to get into action, and we did. And it actually turned out to be tremendous for us, and it planted, a seed that grew into, quite a magnificent tree over the past, year and a half, both for our clients and then also for me, in terms of, my own business. But it was hairy for sure in the beginning though.
Well, I that was a really, it's just such a unique perspective to see. We often think of like people that are working in finance, these big companies, as being sort of these like, they're controlling everything, but there are these great
Yeah.
massive moments where it's like they don't know what's going on either, right? And I
Yeah.
like that you were upfront about that and honest, but obviously then using these resources to pivot and figure out what it is you can do. I want to touch on something that you said, because you talked about people that come in with all entrepreneurs, business owners, with all of the training, all the book smarts, all the education,
Yeah.
all the pivot tables. There are just as many people that kind of start their businesses, young entrepreneurs, without all of that. They have a passion, they have a dream, they have a goal, they have a vision, and they want to execute. So I want to ask you, what are some of the most common mistakes that you see young entrepreneurs making when they're starting their business in terms of finance?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Drew, you and I both kind of got into entrepreneurship quite young, right? I think I was 24, and I think you were, maybe a year or two older, or a couple of years older. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure we went out there and made all the mistakes too. But some of the ones I see today that I identify right away, A, because I made them myself, or B, because I've been doing this long enough where it's like I would not waste my time on that, is they fail to maybe, if they're going out there and starting something completely new, like you're an Elon Musk and you're trying to send a rocket into space, or cheaper than NASA could, or you're building a Tesla car or a robot, or sure, whatever. I mean, there's no one for you to go and talk to and say, hey, how do you do something that no one's ever done before? And I'm going to be the first guy to do it. Like, there's no conversation that would be had there. But if you're in an industry, like, for example, you're in food services, I'm in financial services, like, people have been using money and eating food since forever. So there's someone that you can go and talk to, and you can kind of say, hey, I know you've been doing this for X amount of time, maybe even decades. Tell me, what should I really be focusing on? What are some things that you focused on in the beginning, and what are some of the things that you're still focusing on today, all these decades later? And what are some things that, obviously times change, technology changes, people changes, culture and society change. There's different things, layers that get added on. But at the end of the day, what is the fundamental things that you need to focus on? And too often you see young people come in and they say, okay, I'm going to go out there and build this website. It's the full razzle dazzle. Look at all this technology that I bought. Look at all these funnels that I've created and all these kind of things. And then they realize that all these things sometimes can be capital intensive and don't bear any fruit, because they don't actually focus on honing their skills and perfecting themselves in the very basic fundamentals of the business. You got to have training wheels on your bicycle, then you ditch the training wheels, then you learn how to ride a bicycle, and then you get really good and start learning how to do some tricks, and you get a bit more confidence and all these things. And what happens sometimes, I think, in terms of, my business, what I see is, A, they don't focus on the fundamentals, and B, which doesn't allow them to build their confidence, which C, doesn't allow them to grow into the areas where, you are going to face adversity. And if you don't have those basic skills and that confidence, that adversity is going to kick your teeth in every single time. And that's what I would say, that would be probably, would span across multiple types of businesses.
And if from the finance side specifically, because I know, and one of the things that a lot of younger entrepreneurs are guilty of, myself included, is leaving the finance side of the business until you're at a later stage. Going, I'll hire an accountant, or I'll hire a CPA later. Well, I can do that myself. So from a finance, if you had to maybe pick, I don't know, 2 or 3 tips for young entrepreneurs or business owners from the finance side, that they should do this absolutely when they're starting their business, what do you think those things would be?
One is immediately understand your cash flow, money in versus money out. That is key, because if without understanding your cash flow from the early start, you're not going to know where to go. You're not going to know where money's coming from. What money do I have? What don't I have? Where's my money going? And how much do I have left over? What of that amount do I have left over? Do I reinvest back, or pay myself a wage so that way I can, put a roof over my head and put food in my fridge? Like, that is very basic. And then number 2, once you figure that out, and you figure out, what you're kind of what's left over. And in some cases, in the early stages of entrepreneurship, it's nothing or very little. And we've all been there. But that's an important lesson to learn, because now it's even more important to understand where your money's going. Then when you kind of are like, okay, now I got a couple bucks, even if it's as little as $25 a month, a week, every 2 weeks, I don't care. Just save some money, whether it's in a bank account, whether it's in an ETF, a mutual fund, a bond portfolio. Who cares? I mean, just save it. Like, start by starting. You don't need to necessarily know, oh, where do I start? Just start. Even if you keep it in your checking in a checkings account. I mean, maybe I wouldn't recommend that because long term you actually end up losing money there. But I'm just saying, like, start by starting. And then the third thing is actually going out there and trying to find someone. You got to trust them. You got to get along with them, and just listen to what they got to say. You don't always have to, that person. If you like them and you trust them and they're reputable, maybe you've been referred to them, would be most ideal. Just kind of listen to what they have to say. It's not like they do it for a living. You know what I mean? Like, and I would say that concept is the same as saying, like, okay, I just had a kid. I'm not going to take him to the doctor. One day he'll be old enough to make his own decisions. And if he wants to go to a doctor, he can't. Why would you do that? That'd be very strange to do it at the outset on the back end of it instead of at the outset. So, it would be really strange. And if I had to kind of analogize that, I would say that would be the same of trying to delay, getting the accountant or the, the bookkeeper or the financial advisor or what have you, by doing it out later. Because when you need the help and the advice the most is early on as an entrepreneur. Because, when you started, Drew, and same thing with me, before you were able to hire staff to help you and do things, you wore every hat. Like, do you really want to put on something as important as managing your money and understanding what taxes need to be paid and what bookkeeping needs to be done, when you can easily just delegate that work off to a professional? They could do it quicker, faster, and I say cheaper because I would count in maybe the opportunity cost of you spending time doing this instead of picking up the phone and trying to get your next customer. Don't delay that stuff. It's really silly to do that. Yeah.
Great tips. Super actionable. I really appreciate that insight. And I want to. You're a numbers guy and a patterns guy, but you're also a people person. I think you're kind of a unicorn in that sense. You're like Blade. You're like all of the strengths and none of the. You know what I mean? Like, you're so that. Have you ever been compared to Blade before? This is a first right here on the Wellness Hub. So you're welcome. You're absolutely welcome for that in advance. I want to ask you something. So, in looking at these patterns and meeting so many people like you do, is there a trend or a series of traits that you've seen that really, where you go and look at that person and go, that person's got it, they're going to be successful? And if so, what are those traits?
Well, like, you mean in particularly for my business or just anything?
I think when you meet people and you see someone starting a business or having a goal and you just go, that person's got the right stuff, I have 100% confidence they're going to smash it. What are some of those traits that you see that you look for? Okay.
So a very clear and identifiable goal or set of goals, extreme enthusiasm. Like, you can't expect someone to warm up to you or warm up to an idea unless you are absolutely white hot. So, that would be it. And you see them putting in the work. Like, there's no excuse. There is no excuse to not put in the work. There is no substitute for grit and hard work and just putting it in. Like, in many entrepreneurial instances, it's kind of like a thing that we say here in our end of the business. But I think it can transcend over to many others, is you're going to be overworked and underpaid for the first 5 or so years. And then after that is when you start to see the fruits of your labor. But, when you can see someone in that early chunk of when they're starting, just, hitting the bricks, keeping their head down and putting in the work, and they have a clear and identifiable set of goals and just white hot enthusiasm. I think those three things in a pot. Obviously you have to be, create some actionable items and achieve them, and hopefully those line up to the journey of success. But, the person who's passionate and hardworking will figure that out. Right. Trial by failure is sometimes the best, university you could ever go to. Right. But yeah, I think those three things would, in terms of what I see, and then you can kind of, I'm lucky enough to see someone on, the beginning of their journey, and then the next meeting I have is with someone who's all the way on the other side of the mountain. Like, I know what has happened, and you can kind of see. And you're dealing with a 50 to 60, 65-year-old, entrepreneur, business owner who has achieved it all. I mean, their problem now isn't dealing with their own wealth. It's now multi-generational wealth transfers and making sure that their grandchildren have the same lifestyle and means that they have today, and figuring out how to do that. And then, the meeting before or after that is the guy who's, hey, I've been in business for 2 years and here's what's going on. But you can see certain qualities and traits that are pretty universal amongst both of those groups. And you can kind of figure out, like, this guy's going to get there, whether it's this business or the next business, this guy's going to get there.
I love it. Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you see the same things, right? People that are clear about what they want usually find a way to get what they want. And there's really there's no way around it. That's really as simple and as complicated as it is. It's easier said than done, but that's the secret. And I want to ask you something now. I want to ask something a little bit personal. What is the best piece of financial advice personally that you've ever received?
That I ever received?
Yes.
I received it pretty much my whole life, and having every adult figure ever since youth ingrained it into my brain. But of course, they're not cool because they're an adult, and I'm sweet and I don't want to listen to them. But it was actually the best thing. It's just, just save some money. A lot of young people, I would say to you, actually, it was funny. I read a paper that the 12-year-old girls have the highest level of discretionary income out of any person on the planet, by demographic group. And I was like, this is hilarious. How the hell does that happen? And it's because their parents give them money and they got no bills. So every dollar they get can just be spent on whatever 12-year-old girls spend money on. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And when you actually think about it, when you're young, let's just say you get a job as a teenager, even as someone in your 20s or what have you, and let's just say you are, still living at home, you got no bills. That is the only time in your life when your overhead is zero, and you can actually take, while your income isn't as high as, say, someone that's earning, a significant amount of money, or any amount of money for that matter, greater than what you're earning. It doesn't matter because everything is 100% yours. At that youth, that when you're that young, your income's not going to be super high, so the tax man's not going to take that much. And two, you have no bills, so like you're able to sock as much as you can away. And eventually, these some of these people in these young groups will end up going to school and be forced to learn the time value of money calculation and have it ingrained into their brain, and then they'll look at it and say, oh my God, like, the rate of return has actually very little to do with it. It's actually the amount of time that it's been there. And they were like, if I had saved some money at X age and I put it into, like, here's how much I would have had. And then they're like, oh, darn. So saving, even if it's very little, regularly, as early as you can, is the best piece of financial advice I can give to anyone. And, it's like that old saying, like what is it? Something about a tree. It's, the best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago. The next best time is today. Yeah, that one. And it's very true. Yeah.
And I want to touch on something too. We're talking kind of going personal. I know, I'm sorry for surprising you with this here, but I know a big personal passion of yours is we talked about it earlier, is coffee. I think you're a big coffee guy, a big espresso guy. You have a great Instagram account, a great habit. You're posting these very cool, stylish photos. I think we have some photos, guys. Can we cue up the photos here? Oh, there we go. Yes, there. Oh, look at this. Business mode activated. What is that? Oh, look at that. Someone's making a deal there. We have another one? Do we have another one? Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you. Look at this. What is that? Is that a cappuccino? You have these very cool, very, very stylish photos of you drinking coffee, and I think we should but you also have some great lighthearted financial advice and great little pieces on your Instagram account. Can we put up the Instagram account? Can we let people know where to follow you, Stephen? What's your Instagram?
It's just my first and last name. I'm lucky. There's only one person in this that has me. It's my dad, and I have the same name, but he doesn't have Instagram. He wouldn't know what to do with it. So I'm the only, according to the internet, the only Stephen Majetic out there. So yeah, that's my, oh yeah, perfect. It just popped up there. Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. If you want to see very cool, stylish coffee shots and also relevant, actionable financial insights, please give Stephen a follow here. I wanna ask you something again. Another sort of a personal question here. We've all had tough lessons that we've learned in our careers and in business. What is the toughest lesson you've had to learn personally in the course of your career?
Oof. My God. Okay, the toughest one. There's been a lot. Outcome attachment. Don't get attached to an outcome before it's been realized. And I think that is a super important one for people to get excited about it. Get excited. Here's the light. Here's the tunnel. It's at the end. I'll get there. But don't get too attached to that, because often at times, especially in entrepreneurship, when you work for yourself, the buck stops here, right? The buck stops with you, and your shoulders, carry a lot of weight every single day. And that weight, it goes to bed with you. And then as soon as you wake up, it's back on your shoulders again. And sometimes it keeps you up all night, right? Like, I've been there, and, I hope I'm not embarrassing myself and I'm the only one that's ever gone through that. Maybe you have gone through that as well, Drew. But, sometimes there's a lot of stress and anxiety that gets put on your shoulders, and there's a lot of things that you have to do, and it could be across multiple things, but not getting attached to an outcome, because if that outcome doesn't happen in the way that you wanted it to, or when you wanted it to, or at all, for that matter, it could be landing a client that you really wanted, or, seeing something go the way that you really wanted, or what have you, and it doesn't go that way. It's just adding to that already existing stress and anxiety that you have, and it can really affect your morale. And the one thing that is universal across any successful entrepreneur is not giving up, not taking no for an answer, putting in the work, and showing up every single day 100%. And if you're going to get attached to outcomes that, emotionally kind of beat you up and affect your morale, it's just not going to bode well for you. So, I would say get attached to the journey, get excited about the next step in that path, and do everything you can to advance it to that next step. And then all you have to do is worry about the next one, and then the next one, and you put one foot in front of the other, and eventually you get to the end of the tunnel, right? Instead of focusing on the light only and not worrying about the steps in between. I've found is one of the best lessons I could have learned. And unfortunately, I didn't learn it the first time,
That's why it's a lesson, right? If we all got everything right the first time, there'd be no lessons. We'd all just be awesome, but we're not, right? So we got a couple audience questions coming in here, Stephen. These are a couple questions from YouTube. Let me throw you one here. So, okay, we've got two coming in. What are some simple steps I can take to improve my financial literacy? Are there any books or resources that you'd recommend?
Okay, so I would avoid most things on YouTube. There's a lot of YouTube cowboys out there, and what a lot of people don't realize is they'll go there, they'll seek information, and they'll think they have received it, some content, and they're like, wow, that's cool. A lot of people don't realize that on YouTube, any financial influencer, anyone who has a YouTube channel, is attracting 4 times the amount of dollars than your average person is. So there is a lot of people out there that are delivering some very biased rhetoric. The one kind of place I would turn to is, I would just look up very basic things, and just look up their very basic definitions. And I'm not sure exactly what level of financial literacy you're looking to go to, but, look at something very simple, like, what is a GIC? How does a bank work? How do they make money? What is a ETF, or an exchange traded fund? What is a mutual fund? What is a this, that, and the other? Just go out there, and if there's ever something that you were curious about learning, just go and actually look and say, what is this? And kind of look it up. And all of these things are tools, right? Sometimes you'll see people get into don't get caught up in looking at stuff where people debate, active management like a mutual fund or a segregated fund versus passive management like an ETF. That's just marketing rhetoric. These things are tools. So as a professional, we look at these things and we use these things every day. We look at it and it'd be like the same debate as what's better, a hammer or a screwdriver. Well, I don't know. What do you got? Nails or screws? It's that simple. All of these things are designed to do a very specific job, and all of them do that, some better than others. And once you understand fundamentally what they are, it makes it a lot easier for you to be able to make decisions about your personal finances. And once you've gone out there and identified, what are my actual financial goals, and you're very clear on that, and you have gone out there and have a base level of kind of some of these things that exist, then go out there and kind of maybe seek the advice, either from someone you trust, from a professional, like someone like myself, and then find a way to, put those all together. And it's a lot like building a puzzle. And sometimes you need one of those tools, whether it's a GIC or a ETF or a mutual fund, to create that puzzle piece to slot it into that gap that just got created at that point in your life. So, unfortunately, it's very tough to go out there and increase your financial literacy. I don't know why this is. It's great for my industry because people but it's also bad because people come in very confused or biased. And I think it's unfortunate that it's tough to go out there and actually increase your financial literacy in a very simple way. Sidebar to this, I realize I can't go out there and get every single adult because, again, some of them become jaded or biased or just, they want to shut off. They're like, oh my God, this is confusing. This is complex. I'm just going to shut off and I'm just going to pull an ostrich and stick my head in the sand. So I've actually gone out before COVID. I used to go out about half a dozen times a year to high schools, and I would try and teach kids financial literacy, just basic stuff. And most of them, I got hit with 2 spitballs once, which I thought was really funny. But most of them, are like, okay, whatever, my teacher forced me to come here. But some of them, I'll be able to get through to some of them, and hopefully I can enhance their life. But I'm so sorry I wasn't able to give you a super direct answer of like, here's an immediate resource where you can go and find information. But do your own research and just start with the first thing. What is something I've always wanted to learn about? Maybe it's just like, how does a GIC work? And why does my banker keep telling me, don't put your money in your checkings account? You can lock it into one of these GICs and get X amount of interest. We'll figure out exactly what that is. Just go and Google it. It's easy to find. And then you can determine, okay, maybe that's for me, maybe it's not. And then go on to the next thing, And now you have a bunch of kind of tools that you've learned about. And then, go and talk to someone who understands these things and uses them every day, and how you would piece them together. I think that would be the best step for you to kind of increase your knowledge in that area.
Thank you for the great answer. That's a very detailed answer, and I'm sure it's the more the better. I want to ask a question as well as it pertains. I want to ask you personally, what are your thoughts on robo advisors, and do you recommend them to your clients? What role do they play in the changing world of finance?
Personally, I'm not a fan. So if you're going to go out there and there's some sort of robo advisor is created by somebody, there's some sort of algorithm that's going to go out there and do it, and that algorithm is going to be skewed to always benefit the house. If you're an individual looking to go out and do that stuff, you want to, if you're dealing with an actual physical human advisor, they're going to be more regulated. There's going to be more compliance and more consumer protection put on there than some internet-based robo advisor, and they often will skew towards one particular type of financial vehicle as opposed to the full spectrum. Robo advisors typically used, and there's other people that will go out there and debate this. Obviously, they're on the other side, and there's a monetary benefit to them to do so. But robo advisors, I would say, are going to kind of herd people in and channel them into selling certain proprietary financial products.
Got it. Great answer. It's a raging debate. So of course I ask every financial person I know. It's very interesting. 2 sides to the coin. I always love to hear both sides. And we've talked a lot sort of throughout this conversation about, the hustle and putting in the work and getting things done. And I want to know there's another side to this as well, and that we all acknowledge, especially going through 2020, that we need to find time to relax and unwind, and that makes us the best version of ourselves. I want to know what does Stephen Majetic do when you want to relax and unwind besides drinking coffee?
Yeah, which this isn't always the most relaxing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no. It's actually funny. I can drink coffee and go to bed. Coffee actually calms me down. And I remember my family doctor, I told her, she's like, how much coffee do you drink? And I told her, and her eyes almost popped out of her head.
What is your number? How many cups per day on average?
At least 8.
No way. 8?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I was bad. Okay. Thanks. I feel better about myself now.
I'm going to get, I know. And I'm probably going to have maybe there's some medical professionals.
What's your heart rate right now? Like, are you wearing a Fitbit? No. Okay.
No. I know. It's
one on you. Okay.
I just love it. I just absolutely love it. But I could drink a coffee and go to bed anyway. So I told my doctor, I'm like, yeah, I drink it. And the coffee, it actually calms me down. And she's like, yeah, probably the same way,
That's not good.
A heroin addict.
Okay.
Yeah, she's like, it's probably the same way a heroin addict, takes heroin and now they're calm instead of all sketched out. She's like, you're probably addicted to caffeine. And I was like, probably, I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, so unwind. This is something very important to me because I realize, our body is kind of like, actually, I saw someone say something and it really changed my mind one day. And it was actually Warren Buffett. It was in a classroom full of kids. And he said, if I can only give you one car, you can pick whatever car you want, but I'm giving you one car and that car needs to last. You can pick whatever you want, but that car's going to last you your entire life. How would you treat it? And some of the kids were saying, different ideas. And he says, okay, well, that's your body. You get one. And you got to treat it that way because you only get one. And once that thing breaks down, that's it. Your life is over. You're dead. And I was just like, whoa, that just blew my mind. And I said, okay, so I can't go full tilt anymore like I did. And I take a calendar and actually block off first the days I'm going to be out of the office, relaxing. And then I'll have other color-coded segments. And then I've structured it in a way where I'll work 8 to 10 weeks, like 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and then I'll take 2 weeks of rest. And in those 2 weeks, sometimes I like to just relax. Sometimes I'll go and explore something. I found actually going to Tofino and hanging out at Chesterman Beach has completely, it's very resetting and relaxing. But and then on a micro level, I actually, sometimes I'll do it midday if I need to. Sometimes, a couple days a week at least, is I'll spend some time in a steam room, a eucalyptus steam room, and I find I have I'm very relaxed after that, and I'm actually able to be calm and think clearly, and it helps me kind of just end the day.
I love that analogy with the car and with the body.
Yeah.
I find it a little interesting. Like I'm a massive Warren Buffett fan. I mean, obviously he's genius. I just find it fascinating. Do you ever hear thoughts about his personal diet? Like, you ever seen him and Bill Gates together? They eat cheeseburgers 3 times a day and Diet Coke. I just find it funny that him treat your body like a temple, children, but excuse me, I'm going to go to McDonald's after this.
Yeah,
but financially, yes. Do you find that funny? I just find it hilarious about him.
It's hilarious. He goes to McDonald's every morning, and if the markets are going good, he gets the sausage and bacon McMuffin. If they're not going good, he just gets the sausage or something like that. And it's weird.
It's like a penalty to himself, where he rewards himself with that greasy sausage if things are going well. And he brings
the exact change, and the guy's worth $90 billion.
But it's
I know.
And I actually have heard him because I was so curious about this. I was like, they're incredibly smart, intelligent, successful guys, and you'd think, well, okay, they'd probably learn to eat better, but they asked him about it. A lot of people ask him, why do you still eat like this? It's bad for you. And he's just like, I figured out what kind of food I liked when I was 9 and just stuck with it. And I was like, okay, one less decision to make. It's like Zuckerberg wearing the same t-shirt every day because he doesn't have to make a decision, right? It's just raw efficiency. So you got to respect it. But I just find it fascinating, I guess, more than anything. So that leads me to my next question, which is, you could argue one of the more important questions here. Every conversation we have on the Wellness Hub is very different. There is always one question that is the same. And I got to ask, what is your favorite go-to meal? Stephen Majetic.
Okay. So I I had to give this a great deal of thought. And my favorite go-to meal, I actually just kind of thought back. I saw you send me this question. So I thought back and I was like, what have I actually eaten the most of lately and enjoyed and could just keep eating it over and over again? It is actually Hong Kong style Chinese like barbecue stuff. And it's usually the two items.
Oh,
It's the duck
combo, duck and the pork
with the rice, and you get the two little buk choy going on, and it's
You get the garlic sauce on top too. You go for that, or you get
I
not
go
get
for
that one?
I go for the man. I'm really I don't know how many people are seeing this right now, but this is kind of embarrassing. But yes, I go full on with the ginger and onion sauce and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I would say that would be like just kind of in the week. I'm hungry. I need to do something to step out. There's this place, it's called Neptune. It's like right on Alberni Street, so a block out from my office. And yeah, I'm there like 3 days a week.
Oh wow!
I love it. Or if I'm out, lucky enough to be out in Richmond, Hong Kong Barbecue Master. Actually, I saw Seth Rogen and who's that famous chef?
David Chang. They went there. Yeah,
they went. Yeah,
yeah.
And I'm like,
it was
man,
awesome. Yeah.
Go there. What they went there? Like
they went to some random places. They went to Lee's Donuts on Granville Island. You see that?
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of stuff. They went to a few good spots, but that was a really funny bit. I love it.
But yeah. Anyways, that's it. That's it.
Great choice. Yeah. That's definitely a unique choice. The first one of those we've had here on this is episode 25 of the Wellness Hub. You are the silver episode with a silver episode with a gold recommendation for food.
Oh,
so
that's
thank you so much.
I'm embarrassed now. Yeah.
So, Stephen, I really appreciate you making the time here to hop on to hang out with us tonight to answer all of these great questions about finance. I know our listeners got a ton of insights. I'm going to ask you one last question, which just came in from YouTube, and this is what I think is a hot question for all of us after seeing those. What is the best place for coffee in Vancouver? Leave us with one more gem, Stephen.
Now, I mean, everyone's coffee palate is going to be different. So let me preface it there. This is the very, PC answer here, not to offend or trigger anybody, but I would say my favorite place. I don't know if it's the best. Everyone has their own fave, but my favorite place is Platform 7.
Good choice. Really good choice. That's not going to trigger anyone.
Yep. One is on Broadway and Arbutus kind of area, and then there's one in the East Village, right next to the second taco. The first was obviously in Tofino. The second one was just it used to be Kitty Corner from Red Wagon, but Red Wagon moved. It's Hastings and I think it's Noel or something. But the closest major intersection is.
Sure.
Nanaimo. Yeah. Anyways, that spot is my fave. I am always there.
Awesome. Well, right from the go-to source for coffee and food, Stephen, and finance.
I don't know if I'm the go-to source. The Vancouver coffee snob.
You are tonight, my friend. So thank you so much again, Stephen, for hopping on, hanging out with us tonight, and sharing all your insights and wisdom. I hope you'll come back and join us again sometime soon. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, it's been great.
Amazing. I hope you all were able to get that down. It was such a great experience having Stephen on the show tonight, stopping by the Wellness Hub and sharing his insights and his wisdom with us. I really hope today's episode was able to demystify the world of finance for you a little bit today. For our aspiring entrepreneurs and business owners out there, I hope today's episode was able to provide actionable insights that you can start applying immediately. And for those still unsure of where their personal life or career will take them, I hope the financial insights provided today will help you along your own path of discovery. It was such a genuine pleasure to talk to Stephen, and I'm always so impressed by his generosity and his passion for his vocation. As someone in the role of an advisor, I think Stephen's success can be attributed largely to his sincere interest in seeing other people thrive. That ability to champion and uplift others is a rare quality, and I think all great leaders should aspire to that. I think a lot of us get often caught up in the idea of competition, of the rat race, of feeling like we're all fighting for a finite amount of resources. And I think People like Stephen prove that wealth is really in generosity. Happiness and fulfillment can often be found in uplifting those around us. It's the security of knowing that someone else's success doesn't put our own success down. And that's a lesson that I think gets easier to learn as you get older. It's wisdom that requires the self-assurance and confidence that comes with age. And so my question for you tonight is, what are you doing to uplift others in your life? Do you share your successes with others? How important is generosity to you? Let us know your answers in the comments below. We read and respond to them all. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. If you'd like to see more great conversations like this, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, and LinkedIn at UpMeals. We will see you next Wednesday evening right here on the Wellness Hub for another great conversation. I'm Drew Munro. Until then, take care.